And it is Con Carne, the world's only food podcast recorded in a car. I'm James Van Alstel. This podcast is lovingly sponsored by Boost Mobile, which runs on the super incredible, shockingly jaw-dropping fast Sprint mobile network. My entire family's on Boost. It is so easy to get yourself set up. The phone that I do all of our Facebook Live sessions on is a Samsung Galaxy S8, which I got from Boost Mobile.
It's Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstel.
And today, this week on this show, we are at Stern Pinball, Mecca, ground zero for all things pinball. And sitting shotgun, my interviewee for Con Carne this week is a world-famous pinball player in his own right. He's also the marketing director for Stern Pinball. Zach Sharpe, welcome to my car.
Thank you.
I got to ask, now we've been communicating over email. We've never met before. Our first meeting was me opening the passenger door for you to get in the car.
Yes.
Is that a little weird?
My wife and my brother know where I'm at, just in case I'm never heard from again.
You can trust me. It's all good. I brought you hot dogs. I mean,
That's true.
So yeah, here's the thing. We're at Stern Pinball. I think my lifelong dream has been to come here. So my thought for this week was we weren't going to meet at a restaurant. I was going to bring the food to you so that after we're done, we could do a Facebook Live inside Stern
Sounds
Pinball. Are you living like your perfect life? Your
It is, yes, it is pretty special.
right. I mean, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's what they say. And you
I love marketing. I love pinball. I married the two passions, and I do it for a living.
All right, let's talk over a hot dog. So,
okay, all right.
Around Stern Pinball is in Elk Grove Village, and right around the corner is a Portillo's. Shockingly, I have never done a Con Carne at a Portillo, so it seemed like a good enough time.
Oh, it's so good.
Now, I called on the way. I said, what do you want? And you're like, just a Chicago dog. No fries? No fries. I got you fries.
You got me fries.
Because what's the point?
Buttering me up here.
That's exactly right. Here is the Chicago dog.
Thank you.
And Portillo's, I mean, for all the locations, they are consistent. No matter which one you go to, you know you're going to get a kick-ass hot dog.
Oh, yeah. And their fries are actually really good.
The salty crinkle fries, I'm a big fan of those. So as we start to dig into this, and there's no right way to...
I was going to say, and I apologize if I'm chomping.
Oh, that's part of the charm, Zach. Are you kidding me? All right, so I mentioned you are a world-class... You're a champion pinball player.
I try to be.
Did the company seek you out to be marketing director, or did you seek them out?
They did. They actually seeked me out. They asked me if I was interested about 4 years ago. And at the time, I mean, I was always happy at my previous job. Mm-hmm. I just never thought of working in pinball because I worked at a marketing agency beforehand. So in my mind, I was always thinking, man, it'd be really cool to get Stern as a client. Like to do marketing for Stern, but not be on the inside. So when I was asked, like, oh, do you have any interest in working in pinball? I kind of laughed it off and said, like, no, I'm good. Like, I was happy with where I was. But then it planted the seed where I was just like, I never actually thought of that. And I'm like, if I'm ever asked that question ever again, I will be way more receptive. Fast forward 4 years, they asked me again. I was very receptive, and here I am, eating fries and a hot dog.
When you were a kid, were you like going to arcades, or where were you playing pinball?
So, if you Google search Roger Sharpe, I can give you the abbreviated version, but my father helped legalize pinball in the 70s. Oh yeah, there's a Drunk History episode based off of him.
Wait.
You think I'm an interesting Sharpe? You should be talking to my dad.
Wait, pinball was outlawed?
Pinball?
No.
Pinball was illegal from the 40s to the 70s.
I didn't even know this. I love pinball. I didn't even know this.
It was seen
Were people
as a
gambling?
Well, games used to pay out money back in the day, and it just had that stigma and antiquated law saying it was a game of luck, not skill. So it was outlawed from the 40s to the 70s, and he proved it was a game of skill in a court in New York, and they overturned it. So he helped start the legalization of pinball.
You have the greatest family ever.
Yeah.
So, all right, so pinball was always, you were always around it.
I was born with pinball machines in the house.
Not a bad way to grow up. So you became good just because they were always there. When did it start becoming a competitive thing? When did you start saying, yeah, I should throw my hat in the ring?
You know, I would dispute that, though, because I know people who are older than me that have pinball their entire life and have played more than me. Sometimes it's just natural talent. I mean, it's no different than bowling. You know, some people are just naturally better with hand-eye coordination, and I've always been into sports, and yeah, I just had a natural ability, and my brother as well. We both just happened to be really good at it.
When did you decide to start competing? When did you become aware that competitions even existed?
So at the time, there was this Chicago Pinball Expo, and my brother and I noticed that there was a little kids division. We saw like little kids playing, and the winners were getting like these stuffed bears and trophies. And we're like, oh, we want to play because we like competing. And our dad did not let us play. He didn't want a sibling rivalry forming.
Okay.
So it took, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years of just pleading and begging year after year after year. And he finally caved. He's like, fine, you guys can play. And we just dominated the junior circuit. And it's like, wow, we are really good. So my first tournament was when I was 12 and my brother was 14. And there were 2 separate age groups. So it was 13 through 16 and 12 and under. And I won my division and he won his division at the same tournament.
And do you get to pick your table, or do they assign you to, they say, okay, you're doing Funhouse?
Different tournaments, different formats. So sometimes it's you're told what you're playing, and other ones you're choosing.
Got it. Did you have a favorite growing up?
My favorite growing up was actually a game my dad, a game my dad designed called Cyclops. So
Okay.
he actually designed a game. Actually, he designed multiple games. He's on the back glass artwork. So is my mom.
Oh
It's kind of funny, but that was always my favorite growing up.
See, when I was growing up, I've always loved pinball. I mean, since childhood, it was always my favorite thing when I'd go to the arcade with my friends. My feeling about pinball was it felt more fair than playing a traditional stand-up arcade game. I felt like everyone could play it, and everyone could play it for more than a minute at a time. We'd play some of those arcade games, and I'd get wiped out in 30 seconds or less. I felt like pinball was more substantive. Like, if you walked into a pinball game and you never played before, you get a couple minutes of action out of it. It was kind of an equalizer in that respect.
Yep. I mean, well, for me, the lure of pinball is it's a physical, interactive experience that can't be replicated. You know, if you walk up to a Super Mario Brothers, you're always starting, and it's the same exact path that's already coded. You know, Pac-Man, people can beat the game with their eyes closed because it's the same set pattern. There's no nuance. With pinball, it's physics. It's live, actual, tangible stuff that you'll never have the same game twice. You can play as many times as you want, and there'll always be subtle differences, the way the ball bounces, what you're hitting, that you just can't duplicate.
And you kind of hinted toward it. There is that visceral feeling, the contact, the flippers hitting the ball, the noise of the ball getting knocked around, the bumpers, the sounds. It is very engaging. You really do kind of feel all of it.
Yep. Something that just a video game cannot replicate.
What do you think? I mean, pinball machines, and we'll go inside for the Facebook Live. Pinball machines have evolved so much. Stern has evolved them so much. What do you think about the more old school pinball games that don't have videos and animations and all that? Is there still value to those?
Oh yeah, I love old games too, because to me I like to use the analogy of a restaurant or a movie. You don't always want to see an action movie. You don't always want to see an epic. Sometimes you want a comedy. Sometimes you want Chinese food. Sometimes you want Italian. It's no different than pinball. Like, old games I love because those old designs, it was much more random. So even if you were making successful shots, the ball was always in jeopardy. Where on a lot of the newer games, you'll have ramps and stuff where if you keep making all your shots, you'll never drain because you're just extremely accurate and the ball is never in danger.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like the randomness of some of the older machines. From a tournament player, I'll always choose a game that is the most controllable.
Mm-hmm. Of course. By the way, these fries are so salty.
They're
I'm
so
saying
good,
that
though.
as a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're so great. I didn't get you a beverage. I went out on a limb. I got you the fries, but you said, just give me a hot dog.
Yeah. No.
I feel guilty.
I drink so much water throughout the day. I was good.
Mm-hmm. Do you know that guy?
That was actually Gary Stern.
Shut up!
That is the owner of Stern Pinball right there. You just watch.
Shut up! You just walked by the car.
Yep. That is Gary Stern. He might have actually picked up Portillo's too.
That was the titular Stern of Stern Pinball.
Yep.
Shut up! This is the greatest night of my life. Let's go back. Let's dig into Stern Pinball history. Where, when, how? I mean, to the best of your recollection, as a pinball manufacturer and company, how did this all kick off?
Gary's father, Sam Stern, met with Harry Williams and wanted to buy a pinball machine company. So Harry Williams went up in his plane, and Gary tells this story way better than I do.
Sure.
Flew around Lake Michigan, I think, a couple times, landed, and sold a pinball company to Sam Stern, Gary Stern's father, and that was the creation of, Stern Pinball and just being involved in the industry. So when I joke about saying I was born into pinball just because my dad being in the industry, Gary was literally born into pinball.
Literally.
And worked in the company and, became the owner of, Stern, Data East. I mean, you name it. It's incredible just how this company has grown throughout all these decades.
No doubt. And I'm going to ask you to move your elbow. I know I have big napkins in here. Yes. Now, with the Chicago dog, it's tricky. It's easier when you're eating over a table.
Yes, because the peppers fall off. Or
the peppers fall off. I just...
The pickle was hard to keep in it.
I've lived through this before. I ate the pickle spear first. I didn't try to eat it along with the hot dog because it would just end on my black hoodie. There's no doubt about it. So what were some of those early Stern Pinball games?
I'd say some of the most popular ones, or at least my favorite, from the old Stern Electronics. Sea Witch is a popular one. Stargazer, Quicksilver. Again, I love those old games because the shots are so satisfying. There's just spinners, drop targets, and the ball is just constantly in chaos. There's not like a safe return. You're just constantly battling gravity. Oh, thank you.
A little garbage bag for you.
Yeah, the ball is just constantly, it's wild. I mean, that's the old saying, the ball is wild. And it's how you can control the chaos in your, 2 to 3 minutes of playing.
I just ate a sport pepper.
Oof, yeah, it gets a little spicy. Maybe I should have taken you up on that offer and drink.
Oh my God, my tongue is on fire. Nose is running. Here we go. But it's an essential part of the Chicago dog. And Portillo's, let's be clear, does the Chicago dog 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Now, modern day, I love what Stern's doing with rock bands. I mean, you guys just did the Iron Maiden table.
Oh yeah, Iron Maiden has been huge for us. I mean, the reception to the game is amazing. You'll see it in a little bit.
I cannot wait. I mean, that is a band that is made for this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from Eddie to the music, I mean, everything about Maiden seems to lend itself to a pinball game.
I knew nothing about Iron Maiden.
Oh, we should hang out.
Before playing this game. I didn't know any of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard of them, but I'd never heard any of their songs. And, I'm a fan now because of the pinball machine.
A dude just walked out with a Descendants hoodie.
All right, that's Mike Vinicor. He's on the engineering side. Does a lot of our play testing and helps with rules.
Now, I should mention, we're recording this at 6 o'clock on a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of offices, people will go home, call it a day, maybe sneak out by 4 o'clock. The main guy just walked in. His day's, nowhere near done. You're here. The Descendants guy is still here. Is it all
fun.
hands on deck? Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it?
Fun.
You guys work for Stern Pinball.
Exactly. take a little break, go in the arcade, play some pinball.
Oh my God, the arcade. Yeah, I guess you would have an arcade in there, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. This is going to be like walking into Wonka's factory, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Now, were you local before you came here?
Yeah, I mean, I live in the city.
Okay.
In Albany Park. Mm-hmm. And grew up in Arlington Heights, so I was born in New York, but predominantly lived in the Illinois area.
All right, so in addition to Maiden, there you did Aerosmith, AC/DC. When the bands see these pinball games for the first time or get to play them for the first time, how do they respond? Like you put,
they love it. I mean,
I'm sure it is. Like,
some bands more than others. I'm sure. I haven't actually seen them in person react to the games, but
yeah.
Like a lot of the bands, they love doing their own. Oh, that's my brother out there right now.
That's hilarious.
They do a lot of custom call-outs. Mm-hmm. So, James Hetfield making custom call-outs for, tilting or hitting a jackpot.
See, I could see Kirk Hammett, of all those guys in Metallica, I could see him loving this the most. Just because he's like a horror movie collector, and it seems like this is kind of his culture. I could see him totally grooving on that. You have a mouthful of food as I say that. Another table I want to talk about is the Batman 66. Suddenly, the whole world has opened up for that property, that license. There are Batman 66 comics now. All the shows have been re-released, and it was held up. There were complicated copyright rights tied to that, but now it seems like it's game on, and there's such a hunger for that Adam West, Burt Ward show. Tell me about the Batman 66 pinball game.
Yeah, so that was our first game with our new LCD display. And that game is incredible. I mean, you can... Oh, actually, there's not one in the arcade. I was going to say you could play it. But the level of depth in the code, there's all these different villains that you play through. So you're playing against the Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman. And there's all these different episodes and seasons that you play through, and minor villains. And look, I'm not an original Batman fan, but it's incredible the amount of assets, custom call-outs. Adam West did some custom call-outs, unfortunately, before he passed away. But
how fortunate for fans that he got,
he was able to do it before the game was finished, and it really is a special game.
So who is the typical Stern Pinball client? Is it a lot of home and private sales, or do you do a lot of bars and arcades? I mean, is there still a big bar business for pinball?
Mm-hmm. It is. All of the above. So, personally, as a company, we don't sell direct. We sell through our dealer and distributor network all over the world. But, I mean, we can definitely classify the market into three segments. You've got your casual rec room buyer, so somebody that wants to just buy, I want a pool table, darts machine, and a pinball machine. Mm-hmm. They kind of just don't care. It's kind of like a throwaway. There's the commercial market, so barcades, arcades, family entertainment centers, arcades. So that has definitely been a huge boon. And then there's the enthusiast market, so people that want to buy limited edition models who are really into pinball. It's kind of like your rec room buyer, but they're really into pinball. So they have 20 pinball machines in their basement.
I want to hang out with those people.
Oh yeah, my brother's one of them.
Oh, does he work here too?
No, he works for actually it's a company called Raw Thrills. They do the Big Buck Hunter games.
Got it. Okay, which are all over in bars as well. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm going to ask you as a super advanced level pinball player. I love playing pinball. No one doesn't love playing pinball, but how do you get better at it? How do you, when you approach a game for the first time, how do you, I guess, give me some baseline strategy.
Well, one thing to get better is to keep playing.
Yeah, I guess that answers itself.
Cliche.
Sure. Yeah.
But the more you play,
I'll get it.
The more comfortable you'll get. Mm-hmm. One thing, if you walk up to a game for the first time, is shoot the flashing shots. The games do a really good job of kind of showing you what you should be shooting at. So if you start a particular mode, you'll notice that there's like inserts that are colored a certain, like all these things are all of a sudden lit red.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot those red things, or green or yellow. I mean, the games do a really good job of trying to tell you what to shoot for. The other thing, is don't be afraid to shake it.
See, I'm always afraid to shake it.
The game will tell you if you're shaking it too much. You will tilt, it'll kill the power, but that's part of the risk reward of pinball, is being able to nudge and maneuver the game.
Is there so there is some wiggle room to kind of make that ball?
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm always afraid. Maybe I've just been maybe there's like a sweet spot like that kind of friction zone before you tilt.
Yep, exactly. Well, I mean, you might get a danger and not tilt, and you learn that threshold of how much you can get away with. And that makes, better players play longer, because you're able to save balls that if you did nothing, it would drain. But if you're able to influence it and keep your ball alive, you essentially got yourself an extra ball.
Okay, so modern day, we're sitting out here in front of Stern. You are the marketing director. What is, if I had to play one game in that building, what's the one that just makes you think, wow, this is a showstopper?
Iron Maiden.
Really?
Hands down.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm so glad we got to talk. I hope that was filling enough for you.
Oh, yeah. It's delicious.
All right. It's Portillo's Hot Dogs. All right. This Con Carne episode is brought to you by Boost Mobile. We're going to go inside. Now that we've done this interview, we've consumed our hot dogs, we have our protein. We're going to go inside Stern. That will be on Facebook Live, and that will be archived for eternity. It'll be evergreen content for you to see on Facebook. And this podcast, of course, exists on carconcarne.com. Zach, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
I hope this was fun and not too weird.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
Definitely a first.